Okay, folks, it's 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock Toronto time, so good day to all. Just as a reminder, this meeting will be recorded. Steve will mute everybody's audio. When you have a question, please use the chat function during the meeting. We will have a Q&A afterwards with an open discussion. And if you really need to move around, please stop your video because it will distract other participants. So once again, thank you for joining us. The agenda Steve has put up, the welcome, I guess we got through. I will do a president's report on PROBUS Global. Peter will update us on the website and membership. And we will review where we are as far as the clubs are concerned, and Gauthier, and we'll talk a little bit about what options we have for registering PROBUS Global, and also looking at a revenue stream for PROBUS Global. Just an update on the coordinator program. And then I'd like to develop, hopefully, a marketing task force so we can promote PROBUS around the world. And then we'll get into in New York and what's going on over there with Jacques and Gauthier. So,
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon? What did you ask me?
No, I'm just reviewing the agenda for today, and the last part of the agenda.
Okay, though.
Yeah, okay. Next one, Steve, please. No, we're missing one.
Is that it, Dick?
No, the president's report.
Was it in the?
Should be in those slides I sent you.
But this is the last one you sent me.
That was the one that Linda sent out.
Sorry, Richard, it went with all the attachments of all the reports, right? It wasn't in your slide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that Linda, do you want to share it? Did somebody start a second computer up? So, Dick, what would you like me to do?
Okay, I've got it here. I'll just read through what I've got. And we can send it out as a part of your attachments later. Okay, the first item I want to talk about was the president's term. What we've been doing since Shirley Roberts unfortunately passed away about 18 months ago. We've been running it on a one-year term, so my term will be up next June. So at that point, we should have an open discussion as to what we do for the following year. Currently, the management team for
Dick, I'm sorry, you're muted. There you go. Dick, would you unmute yourself, please?
I got to start from the beginning?
Nope, you're fine. Just keep going.
Okay. I was mentioning that the management team currently has 3 from Canada, 2 from Australia, and 1 from France, and 1 from the United Kingdom. The newspaper, we've gone through a transition. We started with Shirley with the initial newsletters. Then Rob Neary from Australia did 2 or 3 newsletters, and with his demand as president of part of PROBUS in Australia, Mary Wilson stepped in, and the last 3 editions have been through Mary. And I'd like to thank Mary and Rob for the transition, and really putting together outstanding newsletters for us. Peter will show some of the current membership and information, but I'd just like to make a general comment. Year to date in 2022, our growth has been 53% as far as new PROBUS global members are concerned. In 2022, some of the new programs or some of the programs that we started and that are really got a hold this past year is the Speaker's Corner with Stan, the Coordinator Program. Marlene's done a great job on doing that. We have now a photo by member. I think John Thorne was going to join us. I'm not sure whether that was his incentive to get that going. Robert Scott on the Armchair Traveler, we tried to get that going. It hasn't been a big success, but it's still there. And Peter, obviously, with the on the website and also in these meetings, doing the World PROBUS map, showing where clubs are and where members are. Of course, we have PROBUS Day coming up in a week and a half or so. So the newsletter really outlined a lot of options for what we could do for PROBUS Day. And we have on today's agenda some new programs that we'd like to discuss and maybe kick those off in the next couple of months or so. And a couple of those are marketing PROBUS Global, the registration of PROBUS somewhere in the world, and Gauthier will talk about that, and also coming up with some kind of a financial structure to cover some of the incurred costs we have now that are picked up by some of our members. So that's where we have been for the last 9 months of this year, and I'd like to thank everybody for their help, their input, and moving on. You know, as I mentioned, our growth has been about 53% this year. That's outstanding, and let's continue that. And everybody may be aware, after each newsletter, we do get a surge, so we keep tracking that. Moving on, Peter was going to talk a little bit about where we are as far as the website is concerned and where we are in membership. You ready, Peter?
I think so. Okay. Well, as Richard said, I was going to tell you a little bit about membership. This is where we were at the beginning of the year, with a total of 717 members and 288 from the UK, 208 from Canada. And if we can quickly watch the growth, you can see that we're now up to 951. It's actually 953 today. We've got 2 more. And Canada's catching up, but still has a little ways to go. But I think Canada's going to pass the UK pretty soon. If you're interested in looking at these yourselves, they're on probusglobal.org/statistics, and I'll just throw that into the chat here. I'll throw it in the chat later, I guess. But there are other graphs on there that show the total growth and the numbers by each section: Britain, Australia, Canada. Going back to the other part of membership and the clubs, and our map is now up to date for which clubs have members of PROBUS Global. So if you're going to travel somewhere, as I'm going to, I am going to head to New Zealand in December, and these clubs can expect that I'm going to say, can I get a free tour of your town? or have a cup of coffee with somebody. So it's very handy. And this is thanks to Linda Metcalf, who's been maintaining the club lists and keeping them up to date, which is pretty much a full-time job, I think. That was surely Robert's passion, was keeping that list up to date. And it works. I have to say that of the visitors to the website, that come from Google, The majority come from where is a club near me or where is a PROBUS club in some location. And it's about 4,900 people a month are doing that and finding clubs through PROBUS Global. So it's pretty active part of our website. I think an important part of what we do for the community. Mary Wilson put together the last newsletter, which I'm sure you've all read, and those are getting to be excellent. The feedback we get is always positive on the newsletters. Everyone is always saying that it's a very professional job, and comparing it to some of the other newsletters in the country newsletters that don't seem to do quite so well. John Thorne suggested that we try to get the photos club going again, which we did during the summer, and it took off pretty quickly. We got 30 different photos from 11 members in 10 different countries within a few weeks. But now it seemed to have slowed down. So I'm not sure whether what we can do to get more interest or if it really matters, but it's a way where people can very easily throw photos onto the website. All they have to do is take an image, paste it, or drop a file. We tried to make it as simple as possible. And then there's a discussion group that people can join if they want to talk about the photos or make comments on them, both from photography point of view or just in general. For example, Merv has got a picture from his backyard, which I don't understand why Merv wants to keep these guys as pets. They are one of the most toxic, venomous snakes in the world, but apparently in his backyard, he has a nest. And my understanding of snakes is that by next spring, or that may be now, right now, he's going to have a lot of little snakes running around. But I guess he doesn't have to worry at all about mice in his backyard. So moving back to the website, PROBUS Day, Rob Neary has provided us with some tips on PROBUS Day, and as you can see, Rob likes to celebrate in some interesting fashion. Then we've got tips from Marlene and Linda from PROBUS Canada, and those are all available on our general club management page. So there's a lot of information, and they were in the last newsletter as well. The club management is really flushing out. We've got some very interesting information for people who are starting clubs or developing their clubs on promoting it, constitutions, bylaws, things from Canada. So I'm really glad to see that that information has been shared. And finally, I'm not sure if Stan's going to talk a little bit about this, but Stan Thompson has been getting our speakers corner together, and we now have 37 speakers and probably about 100 different talks available. Many of them on Zoom, so people can invite speakers to come in to speak to their clubs. And I think that's pretty much all I was going to talk about. In terms of traffic on the website, we're getting about 49,000 pages a month being served from search, where they come in via Google. And 47% of those users are on desktops, 41% are on phones, and 12% are on tablets. And the most visited page is the show clubs, and then second would be the newsletter. And 2,400 people read the newsletter in the September newsletter. So if we want to talk about advertising, that's the number we would want to share to promote that. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Very good review. We'll move on, and Steve, if you put up the next slide for me, which was kind of a review of the membership in global around the world. Back one, Steve, please. A number of years ago, when we first started PROBUS in PROBUS Global in 2019, we put together a survey of where we were as far as the information we could gather on clubs and members from around the world. Recently, we try and keep updating, and from the recent update, the number that we were able to achieve was 4,074 clubs, which has 269,000 members. The last time we did this, I think we had 275, so we're down a little bit. The average per club, which is always interesting, is 66, and you know, it goes all over the spectrum because in some countries you're talking 25 to 30 members per club. In other locations, particularly in Canada, we can have clubs as large as 300 to 500 members. So it's different as far as what the club and the area as to what type of club they desire. The next slide, Steve, please. This is the summary by country, and this information, some of it, as I mentioned, it was taken from the survey we did back in 2019. Some has been updated. Australia has not been updated from what I can see in the information I have. That's the largest number of clubs and membership, and the central structure, they do have one, and they do have fees. New Zealand is similar with about 14,000 members with central structure and fees for the central organization. Same UK. They don't have the central organization, so tracking the number of clubs is somewhat difficult in the membership. But we get our information from a number of different sources, and this is the best calculation we had from 2019. And no, as I mentioned, no central organization and no central fees. And then Canada, Brenda just updated their numbers for us in the last couple of weeks, and she has 249 clubs in Canada with 38,000 members, and yes, a central organization, and they do have fees for operating the PROBUS Canada. I'm not going to go down through all of this, but the only one I'll mention at this point is Ireland. This was the numbers from 2019. And I just got an update yesterday that indicated Ireland is now 4,000 members. That's both parts of Ireland. And as you can wander down, this is information that you have. If you look at what's on this chart and you see any information that may be incorrect, please let myself or Linda know, and we'll keep the chart updated as we go. And I must say that a recent one that just joined us, and we found a little bit more information about, is Japan. Now, this information you're seeing here today with 26 clubs and 2,500 members is about a little over 10 years old, but we do have our first member from Japan, and he has copied the newsletter and for members in Japan, and also the article on Japan that we had in the newsletter was translated to Japanese and sent out to many different sources in Japan. And in November, they're going to have their central organization is meeting, and they will certainly promote PROBUS Global. And so far on feedback I've got is that there's a lot of interest generated in learning more about what PROBUS Global is all about. So that's kind of where we are today. And as I say, if you see any of this information that you'd like to update, please let us know. Thank you. Okay, Steve, we move on. And the next topic, actually, we should go to Gauthier. Gauthier was going to talk a little bit about what are the options for registering PROBUS Global. Gauthier, are you there?
Yes, I am. Shall I share the screen? Is this what you want now? Hello, Richard, is this what you want now? Do you hear me? No.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, it is. I've unmuted here, so please, yes, that,
Okay.
thank you.
Are the slides on your screens?
Yes, we can see them.
Okay, no. So Richard asked me to see if we could bring about some ideas about creating a legal entity for PROBUS Global. And I understood that to be also with the purpose of having the possibility to raise funding in order to support the expenses that are currently taken care of by basically PROBUS in Canada. So I just wanted to summarize what PROBUS Global has done from 2019 until 2022, then redefine the objectives and see what I could bring together for legal entities. And I really have more questions than I have suggestions or answers. So based on the growth, if you all review the mission and vision statements, you have the backbone of the setup of PROBUS Global. And it has been made possible by PROBUS Global.org, which is a social media website and enabling the communication that we have as we have it today. So the original idea was to try and offer free membership, which I think personally is perfect. If you asked membership, I think the membership would certainly be much less than it is today. So the whole thing is set up by wonderful volunteer work by everybody involved, and all of you who are listening and participating are part of that. And it's being making use of existing hard and software, which is thanks put at the disposal of PROBUS Global. The initial goal was to reach 1,000 members, which, as Richard mentioned, has almost been reached. So I've tried to redefine, to the extent that it wasn't defined already, the global objectives is question, do we need a protection for the PROBUS logo? Yes or no? Can there be a misuse? I think the Belgian member on the screen, Harry, knows quite well that there is in Belgium has been a misuse of the PROBUS logo in general. And it's, in my opinion, again being misused by using the PROBUS Global logo with instead of a P inside, a PG inside. Same thing with the PROBUS name, but the name is a different story to protect because you have a PROBUS wine, you have a PROBUS business, a logistic business in Holland. So we can only protect it in terms of a fellowship of senior citizens. And if we have the question, where do we need it to protect it worldwide? Right now, for instance, the Benelux, you can only protect not in Belgium, not in Holland, not in Luxembourg, but in the whole Benelux as a whole. And to get PROBUS Belgium and PROBUS Holland have protected it as such. With Jacques, Pierre, Nollet, in PROBUS France, we are now investigating whether, for instance, the sub-organization, legal entity that took the protection for Benelux can also take it up for PROBUS France. So that could be a way of protecting, if that is possible, to protect it also in other countries. But I'm certainly not perfectly knowledgeable on the protection topic. I would have to try and find advice and knowledge about how to go about for other countries, whether it can be centralized or it has to be done country by country. The next item was create the ability to conduct financial business. And on the basis, the knowledge that Richard passed on, the thinking is right now an expense of annually about 1,000, I interpreted it, Canadian dollars. To do so, I think we have to think of where does that come from? How do you take up accounting for it? Is it difficult? Is it insecure? What are the risks, for instance, if you have expenses and no income? Who will back that? So those are questions, I think, which we certainly need to investigate more deeply before we can come up with a proposal. And in that sense, yeah, question mark, do we look for the cheapest, the easiest, whatever, based on responsibility? So question mark, Australia has it. Australia is covered by a legal entity that can be financed by advertisement. Canada, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't have it. In Europe, we don't, except for Belgium and Holland. We have together, the two PROBUS organizations have set up one legal entity just to create the protection. We don't do any financing for both countries. But we have a legal entity that is has cost us some a reasonable amount of money to set up, and since then, for the past 10 years, yes, we have had no annual expenses. We will have renewal expenses, and we agreed to finance that both from Holland and from Belgium. So that is a possibility, for instance. But I think before going that route, we need to establish who is willing to take up responsibility, define the risk we can run, and define also how do we work out continuity. If you have to have individuals who take a responsibility, do we need to find a continuation of personal responsibility or just personal engagement? Or do we need the responsibility of a PROBUS club or a PROBUS national organization? And if so, do we find a national organization that is willing to take that up? Same thing, definition of the risk. For the minimal protection, probably not so much of a risk. For financial transactions, I think we should debate with a few members what the risk could be for financial transactions, both in spending and in bringing them in. And as I mentioned already, the willingness to back it up in case there is no financing, but there are expenses. So it ends up by how do you manage whatever sub-organization that you can create, whether it be in Australia, whether it be in Canada or in Europe. And since there are so many questions, I think Richard rightfully launched the idea, if not one, I think 2 or 3 meetings ago, to create a task force, but to the best of my knowledge, there is not yet a real task force in place. So I would suggest that, if possible, that we bring together at least somebody from Canada. I'm willing to participate from Europe, and maybe somebody else can participate also. So that's where we stand. As I said, quite a lot of questions. I think the main work has to be done now by a task force to try and find answers to those questions, and on the basis of the answers, try to see if we can develop a workable juridical entity, fiscal entity if needed, tax entity if needed, to the benefit of PROBUS Global.
Okay, thank you very much, Gauthier. Very good report. A lot of good details, a lot of good information. Really appreciate it. I agree with you 100%. We need to really study the issue, and as Gauthier has mentioned, we discussed the options for a task force. I think we're in that position now where I'd like to suggest that we put a task force together to really review these 2 topics: the how do we look at the structure for PROBUS Global, and where do we go financing wise. Certainly, I certainly could look at representing Canada. Gauthier, you're saying Europe. I'm not going to force anybody at today's position, but if we can get somebody maybe from Australia, we could have the broad spectrum covered, and at the next meeting we could report as to where we are, and see what we would recommend as far as moving ahead is concerned.
Well, ideally, we should also have somebody, or if not own knowledge, somebody with connections to protection and protection legislation and rules and habits, or legal and tax matters.
Correct. Yeah. So, knowing where we are, if you know members within our global community, or even within your club that you could suggest to be a good candidate to help us out in these issues, please, we can't move forward unless we get support of a number of people
Correct.
to look at the issues that's very well defined by Gauthier.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can go, we'll have our open discussion. If we have more, we can have more discussion on it at that point. Steve, if you'd like to bring up, I think we move on to the coordinator program. Okay, we started our coordinator program about a year and a half ago, and this is where we're asking a member of PROBUS Global in a country or a region to be the, I guess, the communication tool for that very particular area, and keeping the members involved and advised about PROBUS Global, and letting the PROBUS Global team know what's going on in their country, that type of thing. This is what we drafted when we first talked about the program, And it certainly could be refined further or improved on, or some things could be deleted or whatever. But this is the objective we talked about at the time. And what I'd like to suggest, and Marlene is very active in the coordinator program, Marlene Pierce from Canada. She's done an excellent job as far as getting involved with the Canadian members and promoting PROBUS Global and having extremely well-placed communication system among clubs and members. Actually, she'll be doing a presentation with myself and at a club here in Ontario, which we plan on recording for a promotional, which will be their keynote speaker in the first quarter. Marlene has suggested that go to the next one, Steve, please. Looking at the country coordinators, Marlene has suggested that sometime within the next maybe 30 to 60 days, she would have a virtual meeting with all the country coordinators to define what the goals and objectives are, and determine the path to move forward to improve our communications. This is a list that we put together as far as the coordinators are concerned. These are people that have indicated an interest, not necessarily that they have signed on at this particular point to the program, but they've expressed an interest. And a recent one is Liz Smith in New Zealand talked about, they needed to improve communications in New Zealand in reference to PROBUS Global. She's done a great job, because we originally, Liz and I talked or communicated probably 6 months ago, and suggested it would be a great idea if different clubs looked at twinning between different countries. And her club, I think, is twinned with a club in Canada. So the suggestion at this point is that Marlene will be in touch sometime probably early New Year, as far as maybe getting everybody together on the coordinator list, or people that are interested would like to join the list, and can get together and review the program, what the format should be, and the previous slide with the goals and objectives we set up, and review those, and hopefully come up with a program that's very proactive and would help the communications system within the country and within the worldwide scope of PROBUS Global. So thank you very much. That's suggestions on that one. And the next topic that I had on our agenda was PROBUS Global marketing. And marketing, in my mind, is a wide-ranging thing as far as a communication system among members, among maybe central organizations. But the bottom line, the real goal, is to promote PROBUS, not necessarily just PROBUS Global, but PROBUS worldwide. My experience has been when we talk to people who are not familiar with PROBUS, that's probably in the retirement community one of the best kept secrets. And I think that's an issue in so many communities. And if PROBUS Global can do something to promote PROBUS Global, but also PROBUS in everybody's community, I think that's something that's a positive direction to go in. And I'd like to suggest that we set up a marketing task force sometime in the next month or two. So people that are interested in doing that, please contact me. also, I'll turn around and contact them and hopefully get something going as far as that program is concerned. I guess the next thing on our agenda was Jacques, Pierre, and Gauthier was going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Europe. And mentioned call the topic Focus of Europe. And thank you very much. And looking forward to hearing a little bit more about what's going on in Europe.
Here I am. So what is Europe today? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
perfect. So I first want to thank you, to thank Gauthier that has helped me very much. So what is Europe? What is PROBUS today in Europe? Next slide. Gauthier.
Yeah, well, we have the map of Europe,
Yeah.
which is not back to the Ural, so we forget. Let's forget a little bit of Central Europe and Eastern Europe.
Yes.
They're
Next.
non-existent in PROBUS terms.
No, like Russia.
I think he's asking for the next slide, Gauthier.
Next
Well,
slide.
is it this one you want? I think.
Next one. Slide 2.
Well, this is 3 already.
No, we still get number 1 on the screen.
This one.
No, it's not changing here, Gauthier.
It's not changing.
Huh?
You want to shut that, we'll stop the share and start it again.
Okay. New share. Wait a minute. Stop.
Can you go to slide 2?
Do you have the map now?
No, slide
No.
2.
Slide 2.
Oh. You are I have the message that I'm screen sharing.
Yeah.
I'll stop. I'll stop the sharing again.
And can
I'll
you
start
go
again.
down?
I'll start again.
I think you're choosing the wrong window.
Choosing the wrong window. Ah. Is that on screen now?
Yeah.
Now we have the map.
Great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, much better. Okay, thank you very much, Gauthier.
Sorry.
Thank you, Peter.
So as you see, Europe, mainly the one we are studying is the Western Europe, forgetting all the Eastern Europe part. So Gauthier, next one, please.
Oh, well,
No,
sorry.
no. So according to UN,
You see this one now?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay.
Great. In Europe, we have 44 countries, totaling 7,550 million people. So about 76,000 PROBUS members in 2,100 clubs. Among them, about 1,000 PROBUS global members. Since Brexit, 27 member countries in Europe. United Kingdom has been European, but is not more in the EU. So PROBUS was in 1965 in the UK, joining continental Europe since 1980s, and yet now losing their queen and going away, they made Brexit. So they are out of Europe, continental Europe. Next one, Gauthier. The presence of PROBUS in Europe. As you see, the country in which PROBUS is the most represented are the Netherlands, with 13,000 members in 431 clubs, but with very few PROBUS members, only 4. Then comes Ireland, 4,800 in 137 clubs. Belgium, 40,200 members in 116 clubs, with 38 PROBUS global members amongst the most represented countries. France, 1,500 members in 65 clubs, with only 13 PROBUS global members. Smaller countries, Germany, 315 members with 12 clubs, Cyprus, Finland, Portugal, Spain, Sweden. But apart from this continental Europe, we have in UK 51,326 members with 1,264 clubs, and I would say with Canadian, the majority of PROBUS global members, 359 members. So why is it so difficult to develop PROBUS in Europe? As you know, we have in each country or in each part of Europe, difference of culture. We have Anglo-Saxon countries, and then we have the Belgium, German, northern countries. We have southern countries like Italy or Spain. And then, which doesn't help, we have many different languages. Almost each country has its own languages, and even some countries like Belgium share 3 languages. So difference also in country or regional habits, such as membership in clubs or organizations. You know, sometimes similar objectives, meeting of retirees, some other for cultural or services or carnival, bowling, cinema, or any common activities. And then the retirement age or age of less activities is moving up. So now, what about PROBUS management structure in Europe? Some countries have formal legal identities, a central committee in France, where I live, and the Netherlands. Similar structure and organization, in fact, but without formal legal or fiscal identity, exist in Belgium. In Ireland, the PROBUS clubs are founded and coordinated by 2 district PROBUS liaison officers. Members or ex-members of Rotary, and 1 in Northern Ireland, 1 in the Republic of South. No structure are needed in other countries, only 1 or few clubs. Main exception, no national structure in the United Kingdom, notwithstanding 1,264 PROBUS clubs, which is for us very difficult to reach or to get conversation, to know what is happening in PROBUS in UK. So today our challenges and tasks are exchanges. Try to achieve contacts between country PROBUS organizations. As you know, France and Belgium, we have excellent contact and great pleasure to meet each other most of the time. Belgium,
Yes, we do.
Belgium and Netherlands for the protection of the name of PROBUS, in which I think France will join very soon. France, Belgium, and Netherlands slow down to COVID, and we may say maybe to Netherlands management. we don't know exactly, but the contact is not so good so far. With other country, we have attempt to be made. We have already had contact with Germany, and I think it will be easier to meet them. They are not so far from Belgium or north of France where I live, but the difficulty is to find the right PROBUS members and clubs interested in international contact, and then keep the interest alive, you know.
That's the end.
Yes, so thank you very much for listening to this short report about Europe. And with Gauthier, we are ready to answer all your questions about Europe, if needed.
Très bien.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Gauthier and Jacques. Detailed and very good. Thank you.